To take you seriously, this video is going to be for you. If you want to be known as a leader, it's not always about being the most talkative person in the room or saying a lot of things. It's about when you do say something, it's something of quality. And the most powerful leaders and people of authority that I know, and I know I myself is like this as well, they don't tend to actually speak a whole lot when they're in a group of people. They'll be quite silent, they'll be very observant, but when they do say something, it's really powerful. They're so secure in themselves that they don't feel the need to try and over-prove themselves to anyone else or to over-explain. And you ask them something, they will answer it clearly, they'll tell you their opinion, and it's also from a very non-judgmental, very secure place that you can kind of see things from multiple sides. A lot of people go wrong when it comes to wanting to come off as a leader is that they try and speak a lot and try and seem as if they know a lot of things, but there's also so much power in just being like, actually, I am not educated enough on that subject. And the more you actually know, the more you realize you don't know. And there's so much power in being able to own that, and that within itself has more confidence than just trying to blurt something out. And if someone actually knows the truth and what you're saying is wrong, but you're just trying to seem smart when you don't actually know what you're talking about, then that person is not going to trust anything else you say from that point. Something else that a lot of leaders and people of authority have in common is when they speak from a place of authority. And what I mean by that is that they use language that someone of authority speaks. When someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about and they are feeling maybe nervous, or they're actually not that confident, or they haven't developed a good speech, and then they're not eloquently spoken, and don't get me wrong, I stuff up my words even now. For example, I am by no means perfect and it's something I work on all the time, but true leaders, they work on their words, and instead of trying to say like all of these words, these filler words, instead pause, think about what you're going to say, and then you say what you want clearly. And a challenge for you that I would recommend if you want someone to take you more seriously with the way that you speak is challenge yourself to stop saying like, so, these words. Even record yourself. You won't realize how often you're actually saying these words until you have to record yourself, rewatch, and you have to edit them out. So try recording yourself next time. I promise you will be surprised, and try not to repeat yourself too much. Say what you mean, say it clearly, and say it once. I find people who don't speak that well, they repeat what they're trying to say a million times, and as someone who I would say is a pretty good interpreter, it's very frustrating when you hear someone speak the same thing like 3 times over and over, and you know what they're going to say before they even finish, and they just keep saying the same thing and you've heard them. That would be my challenge to you, is try and say something once and say it clearly. And even your tonality when you speak as well. When I speak, and if you were to go hear how I speak on my Instagram story, I speak as if I'm a coach, and I speak as if I am explaining and educating something. I'm not just, I don't sound like a little kid per se. I have a different tone altogether. I put on my coach mode, as I like to say. My coach mode voice is quite different from my everyday voice. I step into like almost like a deeper, more masculine kind of voice, and it's not hard for me to put on this voice. It's just when I'm explaining something and I know what I'm speaking about because I'm so confident in explaining, whether it's business or nutrition or training or any kind of physique transformation, this stuff, I'm just so knowledgeable around this stuff that I can say it in my sleep. When it comes to adding things like tone and explaining something clearly, those things become easier. But it's very hard to do that if you're not actually educated on the topic. So I would say make sure you're educated on what it is that you're trying to talk about. Something else that really powerful leaders do, and if you want to have that kind of presence that when people are with you, they're like, wow, actually this girl, she means business. She stands on business. Is just the energy that you have. You're not looking for any extra validation. You don't feel the need to speak over the top of someone. You're very polite. A lot of people speak over someone else. Something else that is extremely true is most people aren't actually listening to you. They are just waiting for their turn to speak. When you know that information, you will know that every time that you say something, people actually don't really care. They just want their chance to be able to talk and say something, because everyone loves talking about themselves. The sooner you can understand psychology, the sooner that you can also realize that people love talking about themselves and that you should ask questions. I love whenever I'm meeting someone new, just seeing how long it takes for someone to actually ask a question about me, because no one asks a question about me, which I don't mind. It just goes to show how little awareness there is from that person, and I don't take it personally, and I don't think that person is necessarily bad as is. It's something I was taught from a young age, and I actually read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I listened to that book and I was like, wow, every single thing I do is what's in this book, and people don't know this. And I know so many people that have read that book and have spoken so highly of it, saying it changed their life and they can't believe it. And I read it, I was like, I know everything about this. This is just basic human courtesy. But it's not, because most people don't know this stuff and everyone just talks about themselves. And I honestly think I would be so much more of a talkative person in groups if I wasn't programmed to be this way. And my family's very much like this. We're all quite, like, kind of quiet and reserved. Not that we're quiet people, we do talk a lot within ourselves. But when it comes to other people, we'll always just ask about other people, because we know that's just nice. People love talking about themselves. And all I'm saying, if you don't already think like this, go read that book, because this is how I've kind of grown up, and this is how I've always been able to be friends with everyone, and I don't have any drama with anyone, and it's really easy for me to talk to someone because they just ask questions about themselves. I don't even have to say anything. Something else that you can do is something called cherry picking. If you don't know what cherry picking is, it is something that a lot of people who do like interviews will do, especially if you kind of get to a situation where you are having a conversation with someone and you are not too sure what kind of question to ask, and you get confused and you're like, oh, but you know, I don't know what else to ask. I've already kind of asked all the main questions. Cherry picking is grabbing something from their sentence that they just said and then asking more about that. So for example, you might ask someone, oh, where have you traveled? And then they'll go, oh, I went to this place. Like, oh, okay, cool. So did you travel alone or with someone else? Oh, I traveled with my brother. Oh, okay. Is your brother older or younger? Do you have any other siblings? Is your relationship close with them? And then every single time they say something, you grab something from that and you try and grab more information. So that's what cherry picking is. I always do it with anyone, especially if you're like, I know for me, I've been in so many situations where I'm literally running out of things because they've told me everything about themselves. They've told me all about their trauma or whatever, and everyone says, wow, you're so easy to talk to. But reality is I'm just very good at asking questions. And that's a really powerful thing that leaders can do it. And you're so confident in yourself and you're so secure and you're not seeking validation. You don't mind the other person talking, and it gives you a really good insight into them and them as a person, and it can be great to learn about other people and the kind of person they are. They will tell you so much about themselves if you can just ask more questions. You want people to respect you, and you want people to like you, and you want to seem like an authority, and people will think, wow, that person was so great to talk to, and the things that they did ask about you, every time that you did say something, you said something of quality, and you try and teach them something as well. Try and teach people something, or just try and educate. I'm a big fan of not giving advice unless someone asks for it though, so you have to be careful with that, because otherwise it can be very rude, especially depending on certain cultures as well. I was always taught never give advice unless someone is genuinely asking for it. But if you do these things, I promise you, you will seem so much more of an authority than if you are just the person who talks about themselves the whole time and talks over the top of someone and over explains and says and they will think your IQ is incredibly low if you do those things. It's no shade to anyone, but it's just really great information to know. Anyway guys, I will say thank you all so much for watching. I am in the beautiful Thailand at the moment. Do you see my view? This is the view that I have been standing in front of, all those beautiful palm trees. and the beach right there, so I'm very blessed. Working in Thailand, running my PT coaching business. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I love you all so much. Please make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!